Hi, I am Naoki, and in this video, I will explain how to become a VTuber. I will explain how to use VTuber Studio. On top of that, I will also explain where you can find some good VTuber models and things to keep in mind when getting one. But before we get into that, a little disclaimer. I am by no means an expert, but I have been doing this for 1.5 years, so I'm just giving you my opinion and my experience on VTubing, VTuber Studio, and my go-tos, and the things that I personally look out for when getting a model. Now, you may hold a different opinion than me, you might do things differently in VTuber Studio, that is fine. I'm just showing you guys in this video how I specifically do things, and if I help you guys by showing it, all the better for it, right? Okay, yeah, that was the disclaimer. Let's get into it, huh? If you want to become a VTuber like me, you should first get a free-to-use software called VTuber Studio. You can get this on Steam. VTuber Studio is a must-have for any VTuber. In VTuber Studio, you already have some free-to-use models and item assets, but we'll come back to that later. Now that you know of VTuber Studio, we can get into the models. There are 3 types of VTuber models that you can choose between. You can get a pre-made model, which are models that have been already made by an artist and rigged. This is a model that you cannot change in any way, shape, or form. This is a you see what you get kind of model. A pro about this model, they tend to be a lot cheaper because they're already pre-made and they will sell this specific model multiple times to different people that want to use it. That is also a con, which means that you are not the sole owner of that model. Another con is, if you are looking at a pre-made model, you're looking at a very specific type of model, which means that if you have a niche that you want to do, you might not find it in pre-made models. But there are still some fun and unique pre-made models. It will be a bit harder to find though. Then we got ourselves the customizable models, which I use. With a model like this, you can customize what you would look like. You can have different hair color, eye shape, eye color, horns, wings, outfits, just to name a few. A pro about this model is they also tend to be very affordable. And if you're lucky, your model will get every now and then updated by getting new outfits, hair, or just overall rigging improvement. Another pro is that you can change the customizable however you like to. You can make it fit your image in your head. Con. There are some cons to customizable model, unfortunately, and that is, it can be a bit heavy on your PC. This is very dependent on the model that you use. If you want to be a full furry VTuber or an alternative VTuber, it is a lot harder to find customizable models or to make a model look like what you want it to be, due to it not maybe having the customizations you need or having the options that you need. Then we got our custom-made models. As the name implies, this is a custom-made model, as in you will commission someone to make the model that you want. You send a reference, and they will make a model for you. Pro! You can get exactly what you want out of this model. You tell the artist, hey, I want to be a full furry VTuber with a USB tail. They can do it, no problem. You will also be the only one in possession of this model because it's custom made, which means it will not be sold again to other people, which means that you are the sole user, in other words, of this model. Now, a con of this model, well, it can be very expensive. On top of that, not every VTuber artist also rigs, so if you are looking to get it both made and rigged, you can look at a bit more expensive price tag. Those are the different kinds of model currently on the market. So, real quick, you have pre-made ones, which are made by artists already. They are rigged and ready to use for whenever you want to start. You have customizable models, which you can change to a certain extent to exactly how you want it to look like. And then you have the custom ones, where you are going to be the sole owner of it. Now that we know what kinds of models there are, here are some things that I've learned to look out for when getting a model. This goes for anything, not only VTuber models, but always check the artist's portfolio and reviews, especially if you decide to order or get a model from Etsy. I don't want to put a negative stigma around Etsy sellers. I think there are some good ones, but Etsy is a bit full of scammers. Please learn from my mistake, guys. Do your proper research. Reviews. Reviews are a good baseline to see what people thought of the artist, how they enjoyed working with them, and if there were any problems in communication or things along that way. While only having 5 stars is not suspicious at all, it isn't great either. Reviews are helpful, but if they only say 5-star and do not explain or show the work that they gave 5 stars for, it's really hard to judge that review objectively. Does their actual art actually match the promotional art they used? If not, safe to say it might be a problem. You need to do this at your own discretion and from your own opinions on this. I can't tell you which ones are scammers and which ones aren't. Just please be mindful and do your proper research into the artist. Then we got our second thing to pay attention to. Looking at the terms and services, also known as TOS. When getting and using your model for streaming, there are some TOS applied to it. It is very important that you uphold and follow the TOS of the maker of your model. Most, if not all, models require you to both credit the artist and the rigger for the model that you're using, either by linking their socials or their shop. The TOS of artists really depends person to person. Some people are okay with you not giving credit and other people don't like it. So, if you are unsure if you're allowed to use your model in the way that you want to use it for streaming or anything like that, always ask your model maker. They can always explain it in depth for you or just very quickly to explain things to you. Don't do things if you don't know if you're allowed to. Now that we know what to look out for when getting a model and what kinds of models there are, where do we find them? There are a lot of ways to get models. You can get them on sites such as VGen, Etsy, and Booth. I would personally recommend VGen. VGen is a bit safer compared to the other two. That is not me saying that there aren't scammers on VGen. Scammers are everywhere. You must find yourself your own model, but I will link some amazing customizable and pre-made models in the video description down below. I would recommend also looking up a review on the customizable and pre-made models in case you can, and looking at the live 2D showcases so you can form your own opinion on whether you like the movement or to see if the customizations that are available are to your liking. How to use your VTuber model. Once you found the model for you, go ahead and download your model. Right now, you should have VTuber Studio installed. Once VTuber Studio is installed, you need to... Hi, VoiceOver Naoki here. Turns out that there's a easier way to do all of this. Go and open up VTuber Studio like I told you before. Double click to open this little menu on the left. Then click on this button. Go over here and open the folder. Alright, we can continue from where I left off when I have the folder open. Once you've done that, this should appear. These are your Windows Explorer files. Now you're not there yet because we still need to get to the model files. To get there, you simply need to go to VTuber Studio Data, open this, go to Streaming Assets, and Live 2D Models. This is where you need to put your new model in. Once you are in VTuber Studio, double click this in case it's not open, click on that Change VTuber Model button, click on your model so it loads in. When you open VTuber Studio, you most likely will have it open on a preset model, so click just on your model to get started. If you have chosen to get a customizable VTuber model, I strongly recommend looking up a tutorial on how to get it ready. I am not going into how to get your customizable ready, I'm simply going into how to set up a VTuber model right now. But first, I'm going to give you a quick tour in VTuber Studio. As you guys saw, if you click on this icon, you can see every model that is in VTuber Studio. If you go to the VTuber files that I showed you before, you can also delete these files. But remember, if you delete a model, always make sure that you have a backup in case something goes wrong with your files. Next to the change model icon, we have a take a screenshot. This is where you can take a screenshot of your model for thumbnails. You can set a timer, make it so the background is transparent, and set a custom resolution all the way to 16K. Then we have the background. You have some pre-made custom backgrounds right here. This is just a normal little blue star. We got in a street alley. This is for if you are a vertical streamer maybe. So you have nice little flowers in the back, and so on and so forth. But if you are going to be a streamer, you will most likely have to deal with the color picker. This is how you change your background. In OBS, you will need to get a game capture that you can get right here. You need to say that you want a specific window to be captured. You select VTuber Studio, and then to make it transparent, all you have to do is allow transparency. I had it currently disabled because I'm just trying to show you what it would look like when I did have it enabled. Now the thing is with VTuber Studio, you would think, oh, allow transparency, I'll just make it green. But as you can see, if I zoom in a bit on my model, you see that my model has these green lines around. So I would recommend that when you get a custom colored background for color picker, that you choose more of a grayish black background, because then you don't get those lines. I mean, you still do, but they're less noticeable. For now, I'll just keep it with a simple gray background. Then we got item settings. These are the items. I don't have the current ones that are normally in VTuber Studio because I deleted them. But let's say you want to add a dumb bitch note. You simply click on it to make it blue, select it. You can choose where you want the item order to be in. I recommend you put it in front of your model and not behind your model. Then you click OK. With your mouse wheel buttons, you can make it tiny and bigger. For this instance, I'll just put it on my head right there. And then it follows my head. If you want it to be stuck and you don't want to accidentally move it with your mouse, double click it. And then it becomes locked. And no matter how much I want to move it, I just move my model instead. Now, let's say you want to unlock it because you want to change it where it was. You just click this. With this, you unlock all the items. If you want to lock your model so you don't accidentally move it, you do it there. If you want to unlock it, simply click it again, and you can move your model again. Then we come to the settings. Basically, this is the general settings of VTuber Studio. These are my settings for VTuber Studio. I recommend you just disable this unless you want VTuber Studio to be like in the bottom left corner. I have all this enabled. I haven't touched this specific part. We have connection settings, which I will censor. Please be mindful, these can be very sensitive information, so always try to hide this from stream if you can. So on your phone, you should probably also get VTuber Studio. I might have forgotten to mention that, I'm sorry. But in VTuber Studio mobile, it's pretty much the same, but to make it to connect to your computer, you have to go to the gear icon on your mobile, which would open up a panel, and then you simply go connect to PC and enable streaming mode. All you have to do is copy your API, your IP address from your computer to your phone. Then, and this is a recent update, controller input. Since of late, VTuber Studio has allowed us to actually use a control for the API. And you can choose your controller for tracking. It's pretty self-explanatory in my opinion. If you do have questions, just ask them. Sound effects, for example, you're holding a cup with ice cubes in it. You can use VTuber Studio now to also have those sound effects with the item that you're using. You can use the sound in VTuber Studio, or you can make it send it to OBS. This part is important. Your mic! This is how you use a mic in VTuber Studio. Now, do you need to use this? No. But it is quite handy, which I will go into when we get to our parameters for your VTuber model. Enable it, select your microphone, and hold that in place for now. We'll come back to this. Then we have advanced lip syncing. Depending on your model, they will have vowels. So these are the Japanese vowels, by the way. So you go a, I, U, U, I, O, and then silence. This is so that when you make those vowels, your mouth also makes those movements. And to do that, you simply click on calibrate, and you keep making that sound until the bar is over. To show you how it works, I'll do it once. Ah, and now it knows what my register would be as for and then you would do it for the rest too. Silence is pretty easy, you just hit record and don't say anything. We have our tracking webcam or visual settings. I track via my phone. If you want the best tracking for your model, people would recommend an iPhone 10 or up because it has a lot better tracking because of the infrared. Now, could you still use a different phone for tracking? Yes, I do too. You can also track via webcam, but that is overall not recommended most of the time. And then the tracking level. Tracking level just entails how good of a quality you want your tracking to be. Do you want it where your wings are supported, or the little nuance in your face? Then you can have tracking type, with face, hand, or both. I only have face because this model doesn't have hand tracking. Model when lost tracking, which means that if for any reason the tracking on your model has been lost, what do you want to do? Do you want to go back to the default, which would look like this? Or do you want it to stay at the pose that it lost its tracking at? That would look like this. And when I get back, it bounces back to mine. Then you have link eye blinking. I have it as yes. You can have it as never, so you have wing support. But because I have a phone that's not an iPhone, I don't have wing support anyways, so I just have them linked. This is blink sensitivity, eye open sensitivity, mouth open sensitivity, mouth smile, and brow sensitivity. This is something that you need to adjust yourself because every face is different. These are the settings that work for me and my face, but it might be different for yours. But that was it for the tracking. Now we go to the parameters. This is how you make your model move and how you adjust it to your face. And this is the name of your model, and this is the icon. This is very important, especially with customizable models. Make sure that Save Active Expression is enabled, because if you don't, you will go back to your basic model, which is not what we want. For pre-made and custom-made models, disable this. Then we have animation, which is basically when you have expressions such as hard eyes, sometimes they have animated hearts next to it. Don't touch this. Always make sure that you use an animation that is used for your model. Then we have idle animation loss tracking. I will go in that a bit later, or I will have a timestamp on screen right now to what you need to go to. And this is physics strength. What is physics strength? It's basically this. The movement I have when I drag my model. Now I could have this really high and then it looks really bad. I don't want that. I recommend keeping this at the default. And then we have wind strength. Now I have wind blowing. I have that disabled. I don't like that. What I do have enabled is dragging physics. So when I drag my model, when I move my model, there are some physics applied. I just have this really, really low. Now we come to the stuff that's very important for your model. Parameters. Now, parameters basically, to show you what it is, those are the parameters, and it is a lot. It is very overwhelming and very daunting. When you get pre-made, customizable, or a custom-made, the thing that you should worry the most about is mouth smile, mouth open, eye open left and right, but you don't always have to adjust everything. The only things that I've changed and that I found that mattered the most are my mouth smile, mouth open, eye open left, eye open right, eye small right, and brow height. So this is my mouth smile parameter. This is my input, which is linked to my voice frequency plus my mouth smile. And this is how smooth you want the movement to be. Auto breathing is good to know if you don't know what a parameter does. So let's say, you don't understand what it is. If you click this on, it basically is going from the minimum to the maximum of the parameter, which is a good indication to you what it is linked to. Now we get to mouth open. It is how big your mouth goes when it opens. And the reason I have this thing at voice volume plus mouth open is because of this. If I just have this at mouth open, it barely opens for me. I need to really talk with my mouth open to even get it to open slightly. And even then it doesn't do it at all. And that's why I recommend linking this with the volume. Make sure that you don't do this where you accidentally select smile. you need mouth open because it's this parameter that we also want the volume to take part with. And now it goes open again. If you have this, then you do need to adjust it a bit to your mic and how your normal talking volume. You have to adjust it a bit. Do you like it where it's open a lot, where it's not open a lot? I will say, when you are adjusting the parameters, always note down somewhere what your settings were before you started adjusting them, in case of where you are adjusting it and you didn't like it after all, or you liked how it was before. Then you at least have something of a backup, so don't adjust these without remembering what they were before. And then we have hotkey expressions and settings. You can make folders, which I have. Now these are hotkeys to make your model move around. I have a streamer deck which allows me to move my model without using hotkeys, that's why they're disabled, but I can make it go to the left, to the middle, or I can make it go to the right. Not that you see that right now. If you are using a pre-made or custom-made model, this is where your expressions will be. Expressions like the angry. Now I have all of these disabled because I have a select few that I actually use. If you want to use an expression, you can either do it through your stream deck or by set unset expression. Select the expression you want to be triggered. Insert your key combination right here. Whenever you press that button, you will toggle your expression. I recommend that you would normally fade this in. The reason I don't is because I use a customizable, which means when I do that, you see that it goes through the toggles. You see I go through all the things. That's why I have it up instantly, so I don't have that and it just pops up. With pre-made and custom ones, you can do this. It will look a lot better. I really recommend that you do keep that enabled. You can also have it that the expression stops after a certain amount of time. Hi, real quick, editing Naoki once again. I didn't explain this properly in the recording, but you can do a lot more with expressions than just change your emotion. You can also change where your model moves with expressions. It is the move model that you need to just hit the record where your model is and then simply type in once again a key combination or link it through your stream deck to activate it. There's so many possibilities with expressions and settings like this. I suggest that you play around a bit, see what you like. That is it for the expressions, like I said. So sorry, I got a bit scatterbrained and didn't explain this properly. Now we can go back to whatever I'm talking about now. And that is how to set up your model in VTuber Studio, and a bit about VTuber Studio as well. So that is how to get yourself a model, what to look out for when getting a model, how to get VTuber Studio, how VTuber Studio works, everything. That was the works. I hope this was informative to you guys. If it went too quick or things were unclear, you can leave questions in the comments down below. I will answer them to the best of my ability. I really hope that I was able to teach you guys something about VTuber Studio and how to get started and all that. Now, with that said, I hope you all have a great rest of your day. Hope you stay safe, take care, and this demon girl is out.